The second method I'm going to show you on how to graph linear equations is with the graphing calculator. The graphing calculator, the best one or the easiest and cheapest is TI-84. If it's not a TI, I cannot probably not help you really how to do that. YouTube, the videos, they're still a little confusing if it's not a TI calculator. So TI calculators, obviously my recommendation. I don't get paid by them, so it doesn't really matter. I'm not, you use whatever calculator you want to use, but this is the easiest one that I have found to use. So in a graphing calculator, the first thing you'd have to do is solve for y. That's what we're doing this whole chapter pretty much, is solve for your y. So a minute ago, we just applied it. We used slope-intercept form, and we solved for y. Y equals mx plus b, and we solved for it. We got y equals negative 1/3 x plus 3. So I'm just going to write that over here because we just did that in our last video. So our equation came to negative 1/3 x plus 3. We had y equals negative 1/3 x plus 3. So that's the first thing we do, solve for y. Once we've done that, then you're going to go to your calculator and you're going to click on the y equals button. That is in the top left-hand corner. So let me show you mine. If it's a any TI, your y equals is right here. So your y equals is this button right here. So I gotta make sure mine's on. It's not. Oh, my little niece was playing with it. So I'm gonna second quit. All right. So now I'm to the regular screen where you'd multiply, add, subtract, divide, whatever. But my second step is to push y equals. So I'm going to click y equals. Ooh, I notice I have some already equations in there. So I'm just going to scroll my arrow down and clear those out. So clear that one, here click that one. And I want to go up to that y equals 1. All right, so we're going to go to y equals 1, or y1 equals, I'm sorry. And we're going to enter our equation. So we're going to enter equation. However, when you enter an equation, if you have a fraction, it's important that you put that fraction to tell your calculator that it's a fraction, put it in parentheses. So I'm going to put negative 1 divided by 3. So I'm going to put parentheses, which is right here. We have our parentheses button. So I'm going to click parentheses, and I'm going to put a negative 1 divided by 3. That's just what a fraction is. I'm going to close my parentheses because that's the only part of the fraction is the negative 1/3. You can put the x in there, that's fine, as long as you put it with a 1. So we have negative 1/3, and then I'm going to click my x, which is right here, this xt theta n. You're going to hit that x, and then it says plus 3, so I'm going to write plus 3. All right, so I entered my equation. I'm going to hit enter. So I'm going to hit enter after I enter my equation. I'm sorry, negative 1/3 x plus 3. I entered in my calculator. Then I hit enter. All right, the third thing is, what do you want it to do? What is the whole point? We want it to graph. So we're going to click the graph button, which is in the top right-hand corner. Here's my graph button. So if I want it to graph, I want to see what it looks like. Oh, graph. Oh, this is important. My window is not in the appropriate. So if we ever need to set our graphing calculator, make sure our graphing calculator is set the way it's supposed to. Look at your textbook on page 193, and there's this box right here, and it tells you what it should be. You go under the window button, which is right here. Make sure your window is set. So my x min should be negative 10, enter, and then the next button should be 10, then that one should be 1, this should be negative 10, this should be 10, and this should be 1. Now, that was a good thing for us to have to look at because some people's, their calculators are not already set up. If your calculator goes straight to the way it's supposed to, like this, when you hit graph, then you don't even need to go to your window button. You only go to that window button one time and set your settings, and then you don't ever have to go back to that window button. If you hit graph and it was just fine and it worked out, then you don't have to go to that window button. That's only if you have any issues with being able to see your graph this way. So there I have my graph. I've entered it. I entered the equation under y equals. I put it in here, then I hit graph. I got my graph. However, that's really kind of difficult to read, and I need to plot those points on my Pearson. So how do I see those points? To see those points better, the fourth step is to go to your table button. And your table button is just the second button, which is mine, and mine is the blue button, second. And then you're going to hit graph again. So you're going to hit the graph button again. If you'll notice right above it in blue, it says table. So just second graph, which is the table button, and there it shows me many points. However, on Pearson, my points don't go to 19, 22, that kind of thing. So let me scroll up to some smaller numbers in order, and then I'd just pick some whole numbers to graph because maybe my Pearson doesn't allow decimals, so I'm going to skip those decimals, and I would plot the point 3, 2, plot that point, and then I'd plot 6, 1. After I plotted those 2 points, then my graph would connect and I'd be just fine. That's how you use your graphing calculator.